welcome everyone today to the webinar. This is a webinar produced by Fractional Teams in cooperation with Comms Council UK, of which it's an industry body that we are associate members. And today's webinar is called Make Your Content Work for You, and it's part of the Effective Marketing in Telecoms webinar series. So, just to mention briefly Fractional Teams. My name is Tim Meredith, and I'm one of the founders at Fractional Teams. And with me today, we've got Daria and Snejana, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different subjects I'll cover in a second. The reason why we're doing this is because we are a member of Comms Council UK. As a business, we mainly provide marketing services. We also provide some product management services. But actually, we work exclusively with the IT, telecoms, and cloud industry, primarily in the B2B space. And that's why we're associate members with Comms Council. So we want to give a little bit back to the community here. But also, it would be fantastic if anyone is inspired after today's webinar, would like to talk to us about us providing some services, then we'd be happy to have that discussion. But of course, this isn't a sales pitch, so moving swiftly on. Today's agenda covers a range of interrelated topics. So first of all, I'll be talking about SEO and why does it matter. Daria is going to move on to talk about EAT principles, which is quite interesting, and certainly that acronym will make more sense later. Then I'll come back and talk about about backlinks and why they're important. Snejana is going to talk about a hot topic these days, which is AI-generated content. And then finally, we are going to follow up very soon with a video guide on SEO analytics. And that's something that we'll be making available through our community portal. More on that later on. So I'd just like to, first of all, just mention about SEO and the difference between SEO-focused content and advertising. Well, I always like to say that advertising is great. And we do a lot of advertising for customers. But it's a bit of a short-term hit. You can spend a lot of money on ads. It delivers a good result, but actually once you've delivered the result and spent the money on ads, you don't get much of a long-term effect. You might get some sales, but the long-term effect isn't there. SEO-focused content production is what we call a bit of a slower burn. Takes a little bit longer to get going, but actually is extremely cost-effective and has a long-lasting impact. Content that you create, you could feel the effects for months or perhaps even years afterwards, which is something you can't say about with advertising. So I'd like to just talk about these key elements of SEO, and I'll just fly through them quite quickly. So the things I like to think about fall into two main categories, and that's the content itself and the user experience of the content, then also the technical side as well. And the two sides are actually interrelated. But I'll cover off first of all about content and user experience. The one piece of advice I give to everyone is, above all, write for humans and not machines. Primary reason why is because any content that you create, ultimately you want a human to be making a decision to do something. It might be to buy a service from your company. It might be to join an event, or it could be anything you want them to do. It's not the machine at the end of the day. But also, search engines these days are so sophisticated that actually they understand a lot more like a human does. So it's very difficult to trick a search engine like Google these days, and we'll talk about that as we go through. The other thing to think about is keywords. So making sure that you're including the words and phrases that people are searching for. It seems an obvious thing, but just to make sure that when you're writing content, writing articles, you're including those words that people are actually searching for. Making sure that your content is well structured. So if you consider something like a newspaper, could you imagine in a newspaper if you had all of the stories all in the same size of text, no headings, no headlines, all running down the page? It would be very hard to read. The same thing goes for web pages to improve readability. Also, metadata, it's kind of a little bit hidden in terms of a web page itself. So you wouldn't necessarily see the metadata when you're browsing an actual website. However, metadata is used when your website is displayed as a result in Google, for example. So someone searches for a search term, your website is returned, and a little snippet of information is given back. And that snippet of information is like the sales pitch for your page or for your website, and that's contained within the metadata. Also, image optimization, making sure that images aren't so small that they're incredibly low quality, but also not so big that it takes forever to load the page and the user experience is very poor. Now, if you consider all of those things, the technical side almost looks after itself, but there's a few more things to think about. So I just talked about the structure. Well, if you get the structure right when it comes to the layout of the page, usually that means the structure is good for Google when it comes to trying to browse through your website and understand what content and topics and keywords you're talking about. That helps your site become more crawlable. Google is a little bit like a spider exploring right around a web, trying to find pieces of information. And the better laid out your site is with good menu structures and links between pages, the easier it is for Google to understand how your site should be read. Also, speed is really important. So like I talked about with image optimization, if you do have to have a lot of high quality images on your page, or indeed video, think about using something like a content delivery network, a CDN, which will help speed up the performance of your page and improve user experience, but also increase your ranking with Google. Also making sure you haven't got any dead links. So kind of an obvious thing really, but if you imagine that you wrote a blog article and at the end of that blog article, you referred to one of your products and a product page, a year later, that blog article still exists, but maybe you've changed products and you've deleted that product page. All of a sudden you have a broken link. If you don't keep that updated, it's poor user experience and Google thinks there's something wrong with your site and enforces a penalty and a decrease in ranking. Also, duplication of content. Now, it is possible to duplicate content within your site and with external sites. The way to do it is to refer to almost like a master article or an article as being, or URL as being canonical. But in general, Google frowns upon duplication. It's considered to be plagiarization. And then finally, security. So most websites these days are running HTTPS, so using SSL and a secure method of transferring website data from the server to the user's browser. Now, it may be possible that your website is running HTTPS, but you might have some pages, some links, maybe some images that aren't served over HTTPS and instead over HTTP. Google will penalize you for that as well. So it's not a case that, you know, the only sites that have to worry are e-commerce sites or sites where you have user information. Really, it's about protecting your website and the assets on your site. So those are the main kind of key criteria that Google specifically looks out for. But there are also some principles that you need to think about. And that's where EAT comes in. I'm going to pass over to Daria now to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Tim. Hello, everyone. My name is Daria, and I'm Community Manager at Fractional Teams. So let's continue with what EAT is and what it stands for. EAT is an acronym for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. It's a concept that Google uses to determine whether the content is valuable to its readers and whether it should rank well. So a little bit of the background. The first mention of this principle, back then it was just EAT or EAT, occurred in 2014 when Google first introduced it in their search quality guidelines. In December 2022, Google released the update where the EAT concept gained an extra E, which stands for experience. Now let's take a closer look at each member of the EAT family. Experience. When evaluating the content, Google is looking for the signals that the content creator has necessary first-hand or live experience. Expertise. It refers to a level of knowledge and skill a content creator or the website itself has in a particular area. Expertise. Authoritativeness. It refers to how reputable and respected the content creator or the website is. And trustworthiness. Trust here is the most important and center member of the EAT family. For example, let's take financial scam or any source of fake news. They're untrustworthy even if the content creator is a highly experienced or expert scammer or journalist if we are talking about fake news. There is no doubt that demonstrating experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness in your website content is crucial for achieving a high ranking. However, why is that the case? Is it due to the fact that Google's EAT is ranking factor? In fact, there is no EAT ranking factor. It means that there is no measurable score or rating exists that will push your search rankings up or down. But the EAT framework represents very real signals that Google evaluates for the purposes of ranking. Who does EAT apply to? Google EAT applies to each and every page on the internet, but to a different extent. The most important factors are how well a certain page serves its purpose and how good the quality of the content is. So we have included a short checklist that will help you to optimize your website content for this principle. Improve and update your website information. Build up your About Us and author pages, because these are some of the most important pages on your site. It's where people expect to find information about who represents the website and who represents this content. Plus, Google wants to know that your content is a legitimate source of information. Use the descriptive and helpful page titles. Make sure the purpose of your content is clear. What's the point of your content? What do you want to inform? Do you want to explain something? Maybe convince, maybe sell? Use titles and headings that make the purpose of your content extremely clear and straightforward. Produce quality content. This might be very obvious that your site should provide people-first content. This means content that provides answers, provides advice, and leave the reader satisfied. Google is designed that way to ensure that the content is original, helpful to its users, and also, as Tim mentioned before, one of the key elements of SEO, content written by people and for people. Rewrite and review the existing content. Search raters are looking for high-quality content that shows time, effort, expertise, and skill. So it's a very good practice to revise all content, which might be probably short or does not link to authoritative sources or just out of date. You can, there's another good practice to show the experience in the content updates, whether that's adding a bit of context of how long you have used the product, or maybe adding a video guide. And the next one is showing reviews and testimonials. To build trust, showcase your users' reviews and testimonials. That will help you increase customer satisfaction, loyalty, and the users or visitors of your site will have the idea what to expect. And last but not the least, build backlinks. At the end of the day, backlinks will tell Google that you have experience, you have expertise, you have authoritativeness, which will help them to trust your website. There is a lot of ongoing discussions that Google is trying to get away from backlinks, and that for next couple of years, backlinks will not be a significant signal for rank. Now I'm going to pass back to Tim to talk a bit more about backlinks and how to get them. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Daria. So yeah, backlinks. Just first of all, I'm sure we all know what backlinks are, but if you just imagine you have a hyperlink on one website to another website. So someone might provide a reference or a link to one of your product pages or one of your articles if they wanted to refer to a piece of data or a statistic that you wrote. And the question is really, are they becoming a thing of the past? And I would say, just first of all, actually the answer is no. Which is a bit of a spoiler, but I'll explain a little bit why. So it all goes back to 2012, actually, when Google made some updates to their algorithms. This update was called Penguin Update, hence this guy here. And it was really mainly to target two offending areas of SEO. One of them was keyword stuffing, which we talked about earlier. This concept of trying to get as many keywords as you can crammed into a particular article or a page, hoping that means when people search for those words, your website will be top of the rank. So it dealt with that, but it also dealt with what we call unnatural link building. So that is where you're going out and just trying to build lots of different links around the internet, trying to build the authority of your website in not quite the most ethical way. So it could be undeclared paid linking. So this is where you're paying someone else to link to your website and you're not declaring it, because you can actually have paid links. They're usually called sponsored links, and they can be declared as such. But if they're undeclared, then they are basically fake. Also spammy forum and blogs, where you often find, I'm sure you've been in forums where you find articles where there are lots of comments, and in the comments are lots of people leaving links to their own websites or other people's websites. It's a way of spamming out links within the comment sections of forums or blogs. Also excessive link exchanging, and also private blog networks. So people who go out there and offer a service where they will exchange links with vast numbers of websites. One of the common tactics is actually for so-called SEO experts to go out and buy a bunch of old domain names that have had years of building up a good domain reputation, and they've taken them over and they're using them simply to sell links from their high reputation website to other low reputation websites. Google will catch on, and certainly that update, which progresses, it's obviously progressed a lot since 2012, will actually take all of that into account. Just an example here of an SEO link building campaign, which I'm sure you've seen hundreds of these coming into your inbox and hopefully into your spam box more than anything. It's one of these messages where you have to say, like most things in life, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And here you can see in the top line, provide cheap and premium paid guest posts. I mean, clearly that's often doesn't happen. And actually, this SEO person is also offering do follow links for sale. The difference between a do follow link and a no follow link, usually a do follow link is a category of backlink where the person making the link to your website trusts you or trusts your content and can vouch for it and says, actually, I really believe in what this other person is saying. So usually they're not for sale, or at least they shouldn't be for sale. Whereas we have another type of link called a no-follow link, where it is useful and it does help your ranking, but it's not quite as effective as a do-follow link. And it's more for organizations where maybe they want to refer to a third-party website, but they don't particularly have such a huge experience of the site they're referring to. And also here, a bunch of irrelevant sites, a whole range of websites with domains that make no sense in terms of how they relate to me as a business or to you as a business. So why would they be interested? So first of all, from a user perspective, clearly that's bad, because why would these people be reading those websites? It's going to look a bit dodgy. But also from Google's perspective, from a technical side, they're going to see that these are just mass websites which are propagating lots of paid for links. So definitely something to avoid. However, links are still important. Google uses them to understand how much authority your website has, because it shows you've got a good reputation. So where do you get them? Well, you can go to your partners, your suppliers, even your clients, and also trade bodies. So for example, on the Comms Council UK website, when you are a member, you actually have a little section on the members area of the page with a link to your site. And that is really good, because Comms Council is actually a very reputable website, actually, and it's got quite a good score. So that's something that we have, and we're really glad to have. Also, you can respond to journalists. So this is where journalists actively go out and seek answers to questions for their articles. So one of the websites, in fact, it's a mailing list, is called Harrow, Help a Reporter Out. That's what it stands for. And it's been bought, I think, by Sicyon. And Harrow is really great. You join the mailing list, you can respond to reporters' requests with your answers. If a reporter likes what you say, uses your quotes in an article, they will usually, as a kind of payment of sorts, offer you a link to at least give you or your company some credit for providing that answer. Then also proactively, you can go out and tell the press and the media, through press releases or through newsrooms. But of course, the best way of getting links is to create useful and interesting content that people want to read and that they want to link to. So your links will be generated naturally if you do that. You will get more and more links over time. You will slowly build the number of links you've got, and as a result, your domain and website reputation. Now, there's lots of different ways you can create that content. One of the hottest topics these days is AI, and there's a lot of good points and some bad points about using AI. So I'm going to pass over to Snejana now to talk a little bit more about that subject.
Thank you, team. Hi, everyone. My name is Snejana, and I'm a content marketing specialist at Fractional teams. Today, I will tell you about the topic everyone talks about. So, AI-generated content is content produced with the help of artificial intelligence. It can be text, music, images, videos, and many more. As we can see, even ChatGPT warns us that AI tools lack consciousness, creativity, and originality to produce high quality and unique content. Therefore, that's one of the main points we're going to focus on today. So what are the pros and cons of AI-generated content? AI tools can generate any type of content at an incredibly fast pace. They process and analyze large amounts of data in a short period of time, allowing you to create short social media posts or a 500-word blog in no time. There are some cost-saving benefits, as automation lies at the core of AI. By leveraging the power of AI technology, you can more effectively allocate resources and reduce staff costs. Of course, AI technology is a valuable source of inspiration. If you get a writer's block or stuck for new ideas, you can ask AI tools to help. With the right prompt, you can get many relevant and unique ideas just in a few seconds. Let's talk about some cons. I guess they are more interesting. AI tools lack a human touch, primarily because they lack consciousness and emotional intelligence. It can result in content that appears generic and doesn't clearly communicate your value proposition. Eventually, it can harm the reputation and credibility of your brand. AI models are trained on vast amounts of existing data, making it challenging to guarantee the originality of the output. So to mitigate these concerns, you need to carefully review and edit the generated content to ensure that it aligns with your brand and matches your target audience. And the last but not least, AI fact-checking tools might struggle to interpret context, understand nuances, and accurately detect false or misleading information. That's why you should double-check anything provided by AI tools. Other areas for improvement are citations. AI tools don't provide proper references and links to where information comes from, which are important for the credibility and liability of your content. Let's put it into practice now. We asked ChatGPT to generate a blog article. As you can see, my prompt is quite clear. I specified the number of characters for each piece. The first issue we noticed here is the wrong number of characters for the title and meta description. Both of them exceed the limits I set in my prompt, so ChatGPT just ignored me here. Let's twist this copy a bit, as AI tools aren't here to write instead of us, but to help us write. We edited this copy to make it more readable, clear, and up to the best SEO practices. Of course, I'm not going to look into the whole copy because it will take hours, but I would like to focus on citations. We asked ChatGPT to provide us with references and links to where the information comes from. And here you see some links ChatGPT provided us with, but none of them work. Therefore, we can't write this information as we don't know where it comes from. So let's sum everything up with some tips on how to use AI in your favor. First, you should conduct thorough research to come up with relevant content topics that match your target audience. If you want to maximize the effectiveness of AI tools and get the most relevant results, it's crucial to provide clear and concise prompts. Of course, after AI-generated content is produced, carefully proofread and edit it to ensure quality and coherence, as well as it matches your brand voice. AI tools can automate certain tasks, such as content creation. Still, it's crucial to add unique insights and perspectives that resonate with your target audience and communicate your value proposition. And finally, to enhance the ranking of your content, don't forget to optimize headings, meta tags, and keywords. Also, conduct keyword research to identify relevant and high-performing keywords that should be added to your content. In the most recent Google guidelines, we found that Google won't penalize you for using AI-generated content, but it will penalize you for sharing generic and low-quality content that provides no value. AI is simply a tool to accelerate human creativity, but people are the creators. We added some AI tools to create different types of content. You can use them and form your own opinion about AI-generated content. That's it for me. Thank you, and I will give word back to Tim.
Great. Thanks very much, Snejana. That's great, and I appreciate we rattled through quite a lot of that quite quickly. So we will obviously be sharing the video recording and also the slides, so you'll be able to review them at your leisure, but we felt it was really important, these subjects really tied together, so we wanted to cover them all in one single session. Indeed, we have just reached 30 minutes, and I'd like to thank everyone who's joined us today for attending the webinar. I'd also like to thank Daria and Snejana for co-presenting with me. And also, I did mention earlier on that we have a community called Saskly. In fact, it's not just our community, it would be your community as well. And in fact, we'll be inviting lots of guest editors, moderators into this community. If you're watching this webinar live, then you're actually already within it, because you're able to view today's live stream. So you'll be able to actually follow the links and register and join us, and it's all free. And there we'll be sharing lots of tutorials, the archive of our different webinars and templates, and lots of different useful things. And also hopefully going to create a place where the communications, IT, cloud industry, particularly in the marketing and product roles, we'll be able to have some conversations and network together and help each other ultimately. So please do join us, and we'll share some links later to help you get started.